Come on, why don't you stand to your feet? Who's glad to be in the house this morning? Come on, you gotta do better than that. Who's glad to be house? Good, glad to be in the house this morning. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're gonna sing some songs to Jesus today. What an amazing week, what an amazing series we've had, marked by the Mantle. And we're gonna continue in that momentum to sing praises to the Most High. And I'm grateful to be here today. And I'm glad that you're here with us as well. If you're joining us online, you're welcome. Why don't you stand and sing with us?
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but He brought me in. Oh, His love for me. Oh, His love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last He has ransomed me, His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me.
for you this morning. I don't know a lot of you personally. I certainly don't know your background. But can I tell you something? That first line of the song, it took me straight away. I've heard that song so many times. But who am I that the highest king would welcome me? That song is about you this morning, whether it's your first time with us, whether it's your first time joining us online, or whether you've been here a million times. There is a place for you this morning. There is purpose for you. There is freedom for you in your future. You are not stuck where you are right now. And so I want to tell you that there is a place for you in the Father's house. There is a place for you in the Father's arms. The highest King. The King of all kings. He knows all about you, every part. The absolutely most embarrassing, ugly parts and the most beautiful parts. He knows them all, and he still says, there is a place for you. There's a place for me. So I hope that this morning you can discover that a little bit more for yourselves. Good morning, everyone. Do you want to take your seats? Some of you already have, that's cool. The rest of you can join them. Welcome, everybody. My name's Hannah. Great to have you in the room and great to see you online at home. We're so glad that you're joining us this morning. And last week we had a very special Sunday. It was our first Fruit Sunday. Was anybody here? Yeah, it was such a good morning, and we've got lots of exciting news coming up about that just in a little bit. But first of all, I want to give you some information. Now, I know sometimes information means boring, but information with me means fun. Do we know this? If you've been before, hopefully you know this. So I don't want your ears to close. I want them to be wide open because there's some great information for you. The first one being that next week we have baptisms. Such a great Sunday every time. And if you are interested in baptisms or finding out more about them, or if you would like to be baptized, then can I encourage you after the gathering today, if you're online, email us at info@tcclife.com. And if you are in the room, visit the hub, which is just over to my right here. Or you can also email info@tcclife.com, because we want to baptize you if you want to be baptized for sure. So first of all, there's that. Second of all, if you have ever seen our welcome videos, there's one coming straight after me. We've been having some different people on there. Have you noticed? We've had some different presenters, so keep your eye on that. But we talk about groups. Now, here at TCC, we have lots of community groups, lots that have been running for years, social, fun, faith, all sorts. We also have some new ones opening that are pop-up groups. These are groups that you can engage in for a short period of time to develop your faith, to learn more about God, etc. So we have these groups, and some are starting in February. So the reason I'm telling you, are you still with me? Is so that if you are new to our community, or if you are new to faith and you want to find out more about God in a group setting where you can ask questions, we have a group starting very soon. If you want to be involved, listen up. Also, if you have been in church for a long time, or maybe you have a relationship with God already and you want to experience increased freedom, we have a group for you. Also, if you want to study the Bible with friends, we have a group for you. So all that to say, we have made these groups to help you engage in our community. So if you are interested about finding out more about when these start, when they are, how you can access them, email groups@tcclife.com, or go to the hub, or you can visit the website and there's a section called groups, and you fill in your information, tick what you fancy, and we will sort you out. How does that sound? Good? Okay, I'm going to swipe my phone open because I'm sure there's something else. Okay, yes, how could I forget? This Tuesday coming up, we have Lift. And it's a fantastic gathering that we have in the evening on a Tuesday, once a month, about 8 o'clock. And it's a fantastic time to come and experience God and to really spend time in worship and prayer. So I encourage you, if you've never been, come along to that. It's also a great way to meet people. It's slightly more intimate, so if you are new and you're wanting to get to know people, it's another great way to come. Okay, was that all right? So baptisms, groups, lift, more first fruits information coming. I'm going to be talking at you again, but I hope you're still going to be engaged because you've done a great job, guys. Now, keep your eyes on this fabulous new video with a fabulous new host. Enjoy.
Hey, my name's Emmanuel. It's great to have you here today. If you're new, why don't you go ahead and stick your hand up? We've got a free gift for you today. It's just a welcome pack that explains a little bit more about who we are. If you're online, go ahead and click the link in the chat feed and we can get a digital version to you. So with that, TCC, why don't we go ahead and welcome all our new people. If you've got a child under the age of 2 that's just not quite old enough for kids' church, then we've got you covered. The gallery is available with soft toys and a feeding area for your kids. There's also a live link to here in the arena, so you're not missing out. If you need any help finding that, then just go ahead and shout one of our welcome team, and they'll be happy to help. The Sunday gathering is just a small part of what goes on here. We've got community groups scattered all over the Wigan area, ranging from five-a-side, sewing, food, and even tech. If you'd like to find out more, why don't you head over to our hub, visit our website, or contact us via email. I'm thankful that we're a house of generosity. Whether you bring in a tithe or a generous offering, you are free to give today. You can do this through your mobile banking app, online giving, or if you're here at the edge with a giving envelope. You can make your giving regular by setting up a standing order. If you're a UK taxpayer, then don't forget to set up gift aid. We get an extra 25p for every £1 you give at no extra cost. If you're giving towards your first fruits pledge, use the reference FF22. This helps our finance team process your money to the right place. A reminder that you have until Sunday, the 3rd of April to fulfill your pledge. If you need any help with this, then just contact our finance team. We want you to stay connected to our community, and a great way of doing that is following us on our social media so you can find out what's going on and when. That's enough from me, so let's continue to create an irresistible environment where people find their way back to God.
Who's ready to give God the first and the best? Man, this is one of the biggest Sundays of the year because it truly is a stake in the ground. A statement of faith where we say as believers in the house that we trust in God and that we'll honor Him with what we have. So the reason why the kids haven't gone out yet to kids' church, hi, it's Ben by the way, is because we want the kids to be here and the kids' church volunteers to share the good news about how much was given at this stage. We thought it would be great at this time to tell you the amount that was given so far. Does anybody want to hear that? Online, you need to put it in the chat feed, like put a thumbs up emoji or whatever. So before I do that, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that has given and intends to give over the next couple of weeks. Of course, we're aware that it's not always possible or straightforward for people to give on First Fruits Sunday. So thank you to all you that are either going to give for the first time today or in the subsequent weeks, you're thinking that through. Thanks to just the atmosphere of faith that was created on the day. We've heard some really good stories about people who have genuinely rekindled kind of a fire and a passion for stuff in their life. Not just for God and for faith, but for other stuff as well, the things that they feel God has. So there's really good stories. So would you like to know the amount? Okay, I think we should have a drum roll. Can you do a drum roll, Joe?
On the spot there.
Just do it on the big tom then if you can't do it there. Come on, Joe, come on, do it a bit. That's it, come on. Oh. £209,000. That is absolutely phenomenal.
That is a bunch of people in Wigan giving their well hard-earned money to say, hey, God, I'm putting you first and best in my life. So as much as we're clapping and we're celebrating, we need to look at it as a collective win. That, you know, this isn't like a gift to say, don't cry, it's okay. We've been there before.
I'm not going to cry.
We've been there.
I don't cry,
had a
do
few
I?
tears this week because it's a big deal. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the giving's not like an endorsement of the big change. It's people coming to God and saying, God, you're the reason I have this in the first place. And what I'm believing for is big this year, so I'm going to give you my first.
Yeah, and I think the thing for us that we talked about when Ben said, come up to my office and I'll tell you what the total is. And I mean, we were blown away, but like we are every year and all the time by the generosity of TCC. But actually, the thing that made us both emotional is this is your individual lives. This is your individual obedience to God. And the fruit and the amazing things that we know is going to come out of that is really what moves us. Of course, we know that is an incredible amount of money. There is no shock there for us. Oh, no, there's total shock. I mean, we know that. But actually, this is you guys that have given and invested and saying, God, you know, I want to give and I'm picking up a mantle. And for us, that's the most exciting thing for Wigan, your families, the town, the world, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'm all in on that. So some other good news is that that's not including gift aid. So we know not every gift is gift aidable, but some are. And our fantastic finance team are working all that out at the minute. And we know there's people in the room here today and people online who have yet to give that will. So that will, once it changes and we settle on a figure, we should come back up here and kind of tell you in its entirety. We just felt it was important to let you know where we are to the process. Another piece of good news as well is that we had like 20 new givers to First Fruits this year, which is quite unprecedented really. And it just shows people are kind of catching the spirit of obedience and generosity. And like you said, Han, that's really exciting. So I think my bit's done.
Okay, do you want to stay or do you want to leave?
I want to go, is that all right?
He can go.
Okay, thank you.
Ben can
Thank
go.
you, everybody. We so appreciate you. We love you. I'll see you in a bit.
Also, can we just give it up for the finance team because they worked so hard this week. They locked themselves away in a room. We thought they would never emerge, but they did, and we were glad they did. Yeah, I am just here to let you know that if you weren't here last week and you do want to pledge for First Fruits, then I'm going to quickly tell you how you can do that. So there will be like internet screens behind me. You can head to tcclife.com/firstfruits or just click the First Fruits button on the website. It's straightforward. You say that you want to pledge, then you fill out the information. Once you've filled it out, there's an extra bit where you can put in how much you want to pledge. The pledge is how much you want to give before the 3rd of April. You may be giving it all in one go, or you might be giving it in increments, for example. If you have already pledged your money and you want to give towards your pledge, then you can do that in the same way. It says, I have already pledged, you might have seen it. Or you can give in the usual giving way online. The thing that we just need to really encourage you is to be clear that it is First Fruits giving. So FF22 is the reference. Also, if you're giving online, there's a drop down, it says First Fruits. We just want to make sure that we are making sure it goes to the right place. Also, you can do your normal giving as you wish, and that's all just the normal way. If you have any extra questions about that, you can email finance@TCC Life, or again, you can visit the hub afterwards and they'll be able to put you in touch with someone who can help you. Is that okay? Good. Okay, kids, get ready. Look at the screen. There's something very exciting coming up for you.
It's time for Kids Checks! Parents, make sure your children can see where their age group are gathering. Your child should already be booked in and ready to go. Okay, kids, on the count of 3, make your way to the Kids Church leaders. Are you ready, Shapers and Ets? 3, 2, 1, go! Ready, Squiggles and Sketch? 3, 2, 1, go!
you stand to your feet? Yeah. We lift your name. Yeah. So don't let your heart trouble. Hold your head up high, don't feel evil. Focus your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Sing it out, like we really mean it. Yeah. Swing wide, all you heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All the children, bring hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Come on, let's sing it out. Swing wide, all you heavens, let the praise go up. All these children, clean as pure, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Jesus, our redemption, our salvation is in His blood. Jesus, light of heaven, my friend forever, His kingdom come. Yeah. Yes, we give you glory, God.
Come on, can we give God some praise in the house today? Come on, he deserves more than that. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. God, you are too good. You are too good, Lord. Okay, stay standing just for a moment, okay? I just want to read some scripture to you. If you have your Bibles, please turn to the book of 2 Kings. If you have your Bibles on your phone or in paper form, grab them out. I want to take you to a very, very important scripture. So 2 Kings, you can stay there for now, Austin. You can do a bit of little twinkling, mate. Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Bit of background. 2 Kings, if you're from Standish or Posh, it's 2 Kings, so turn the book of 2 Kings, and it's going to be on the screen if you don't have a Bible today. But it's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 13. So if you turn in there, it's chapter 13. Now, as you're doing that, I don't know about you, but I have loved this series. There's been such a good season for us as a church community, and we've been thanking God for that, for kind of him bringing that to us. I don't think it's quite over yet. That's my impression. I've heard stories of just what God's been doing, and so what we're going to be doing next week is we're going to be closing this series off, but part 1 of this series. We're going to be going back to we're going to go to part 2 later on in the year, because God's not finished yet. And today I want to talk about death. So I want to miss about 5 decades, right, of Elisha's life from where we left it last week to this moment now where he's dead. And in part 2, we're going to talk about his life after he picked up the mantle. So 2 Kings chapter 13, when you're there, say, I'm there. Okay, great. It'll be on screen if you need it. Elisha, this is verse 20, Elisha died and was buried. Now, Moabite Raiders, now that's the Moabites don't sound real, but they are. They're the tribe of Moab who live next door to Israel. Now, Moabite Raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders. So they threw the man's body, it just stops the funeral halfway through it, chucked the body inside the tomb, right? In Elisha's tomb. And when the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. This is the last work of Elisha you will read about in the scriptures. So Heavenly Father, I pray today, you teach us what it means to leave a legacy worthy of your name, Father, and that we bring people back to life long after we're gone. In your name, Jesus, amen. Amen. Turn to someone, shake their hand, high five them, make them feel welcome, and you can take your seats. This story teaches us so many things. There's just 3 I want to talk to you about today. The first one is this, is that there's a life after this one. So if you want a first point, there's a life after this one. Now, there's no way that Elisha was actually dead. His assets died, his body died, but his spirit went on into the everlasting. And that's the hope that we have. And there's and it's a subtle work here to explain that our life carries on after we leave our body behind. But there's a famous author and writer called Matthew Henry. And I like Matthew Henry for 2 reasons. One, he's got 2 first names as a full name. And I love those type of people. You know, hello, I'm David. Nice to meet you, David, you know. And the second, he's Welsh. And I just like Welsh people, you know. They're good at rugby. They're good at opera singing. You know, that's fine. So Matthew Henry was a talented man. And some might say it's not unusual to meet a talented Welshman. If you're under 20, I'm not sure you would have got that joke, but if you ask someone older, they'll tell you. Okay, so this is what Matthew Henry writes about this sort of story. It'll be on screen for you. He writes this in his Bible commentaries. He's a Bible pundit, so stick it on screen, guys. This is what he said. When Elisha died, there was not an end of him, for then he could not have done this. By this it appeared that the Lord was still the God of Elisha. Therefore, Elisha still lived. For God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. So as believers in Jesus. And if you're not a believer, that's cool, that's fair enough. But as I stand here today as a believer in Jesus, I have a hope and an assurance. I don't need to fear what's coming because my God is the God of the living, and I know there's a life after this. Fear has ripped through Wigan and the nation and the world in all this pandemic stuff, right? Fear has gripped us. And I want to pray for anybody who's turned up today with too much fear on the shoulders. That there's someone in here or online who feels like fear is negatively impacting their decisions. It's a heavier weight than it should be. I want to pray for you. You don't need to stand or do anything. I just want you to receive it in your heart. The truth is this. When you come into contact with God, he doesn't give you a spirit of fear anymore. He gives you a spirit of power and of love and of self-control. That's quoted from this book. So if you're in here and fear is crippling you at the minute, let me pray for you and just receive it. Jesus, I ask, God, for anybody in here who's afraid, who's allowed fear to control their decision-making, who fear has a negative impact on their life, worry, insecurity, whatever it is, Lord, I ask you, Father, to break that cloud of darkness, pierce it with your glorious light. May they feel the warmth and the love again so that they can be strong and courageous in the life you have gifted them. Amen. If you receive it, say amen. Great stuff. So the first point is there is a life after this one. The second point is this, is that you leave a legacy behind. You leave a legacy behind. You are leaving something behind when you're gone. Elisha is clearly leaving something behind in this story. He lived his life from when he picked up this exact mantle. And when he picked it up, he spent decades and decades wearing this bad boy, walking around Israel, healing people, giving food to those who had no money or no food. He started schools of education and prophecy. He consulted kings and queens and governments. He was the one that prayed for the new kings and to be installed. He definitely lived his life full. And do you know what's interesting is that if you've studied this story, there's a reason why the Moabite tribe, the Moabites, raided Israel every spring, right? It's because it's just been winter, if you think about it. Stocks are low, food's a bit lower, things are scarce, and so they would raid it in the spring just to top up the bank accounts. But if you read the narrative of the Bible, if you go further back in the Old Testament, it's about 600 years before Jesus came along, something like that, you will learn that the Moabites were a serious threat to the people of God. That they weren't just raiding them, they were doing some serious damage with some serious firepower. And I love that this story subtly teaches us that Elisha, Elijah, and the prophets before them left their place better than they found it. That every generation that moved forward, Israel got stronger and stronger, and that's what I believe about our church. That every person that's ever attended or been a part of our church, that generation on generation, we leave it stronger than where we found it. Because we're all going to leave something behind, right? I'm going to admit a bit of a marital issue that we're facing, or that we did face. Is that okay? That was awkward silence. This is a bit of that's not serious. I mean, funny. I used to do this. I used to use the toilet, and then when it was empty, I didn't restock the toilet roll. There's about 50 million weddings in our church this year. Fella, learn a lesson, right here. You know, I've paid the price, so you don't have to, okay? And it's fair enough, because, you know, once you're in there and you've, you know, committed, don't have to yeah, it's like you need to sort. Anyway, why was I telling you that? Yeah, because I was leaving this behind. But this isn't good to anybody. And I think this is how many people live their life. So I need Daniel. I'm going to ask you, Daniel, because I need you, my friend. Can you jump up on here? Can you clear that in one? Can you clear it in one? Go on. Oh, no, I didn't commit. Thanks, Daniel. Jeez. Right, you grab that end, mate. Right, okay. And you're going to pull it in a minute, right? But we all live our life. This is the most Wigan illustration to a talk you will ever see. Some people bring cars on stage. We have bog roll. Here we go. So, and we live our life unraveling. Do you want to just go for a bit of a walk back there, yeah? And we're just living our life. Every sheet is a year, just going. I think you might need to get down there. Go on, get down. That's it. And just take it somewhere over there. Yeah, keep going. Go on. Keep going. If you're watching online, it's carrying on. And we just live our life emptying ourselves, just taking until when it's finally time for those sheets to run out, all we leave behind is emptiness. That is not the way we should live our life. Daniel, you can keep that as a present. You can take your seats. Give it up for Daniel. It's not COVID, don't worry. We're not meant to live this life where we unravel year on year until what we leave behind is nothing. What is your legacy that you're leaving behind? Even if you're not a believer, even if you're on the fence with God, ask yourself the question, please. What legacy do you want to leave behind? Is it a legacy of goodness? Is it a legacy of faith? Is it a legacy of maybe physical things that you want to hand over to the next generation? But what is your legacy? I'm 33, right? And I'm already thinking, what legacy do I want to leave behind? I've got many decades, God willing, touch wood, thinking what my legacy is. So you're never too young to ask that question. See, I want to live like Elisha, where I spent my life wearing the mantle and the purpose of God that he gave me, living in my divine right on this earth, where I spend my life giving and giving and giving, so that one day when I'm not around anymore, the mere mention of a story that I was a part of, maybe someone talks about they came into contact with me and encouraged or inspired. Maybe it's something that we physically handed off to the next generation. I want to have that ability where when people get close to my story, they find their way back to life. They find the way back from the pit that they've been in, instead of just doing what some people do and just leave this behind. I want to live like Elisha. Long after he was gone, God was still at work. Isn't that so cool? And when it comes to your legacy, what I would say is that, if you live a good life, you leave good things behind. If you live a great life, you leave great things behind. One thing I loved about my granddad, who died decades ago, was many things. But he was the one that taught me when I was young what those lines are for on the motorway. Do you know those lines when you go to a junction and then there's a 3 and there's a 2 and there's a 1? And some of you indicate on 1. Listen, it's there, indicate on 3, please. So I just feel like it's therapy today. I don't feel like I would do it anyway. So I'll keep going. I'm enjoying it. So he's the one that taught me what those are for, like Grandad Eddie. And Gran's looking out in the audience, maybe remembers that story. 3, 2, 1. I remember that. And he was also the one, and my parents and my relatives are always quite vigorous when we went to church when I was a kid. But he was the one that did the if you're not a Christian, you might get this, but the Holy Ghost hop. I don't know if you know that one. If you've been in church for a long time, you might know this one. And you put an arm raised. I don't know if you can see me. You put the arm raised, right, like this. You put your head down, and you just let your feet do the work. And so when a song would come on, like Shine Jesus, or whatever, he would just stand there and he would just start kicking his feet like that. You got to use the hips as the pendulum, you see. Engage your core. So he's doing this. And I remember thinking that is so funny as a little kid. And now I look back and I'm like dancing on the front row and throwing my hands up. And, although that was funny at the time, it actually taught me a lesson. It left something inside of me that, okay, other people might think you look a bit daft when you're dancing, but do it nonetheless. I will get more undignified than that if I need to praise my God. And that's something that my granddad taught me. And I believe that's part of his mantle that I tell my kids now when we dance together. That in that mosh pit last week, I don't know if you hear last week, where 3 people died. Didn't really, don't cut that and put it on Instagram. I was just dancing with my kids. It's just the legacy, and I believe that isn't just a good thing, but that's a mantle thing. So I wanted to do something. I wanted to just declare some stuff before I invite the band up, over your legacy with your mantle. But I don't know what your mantle is, right? So I'm going to need you to tell me whether this is you. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to read, there's about 6 or 7, something like that. And I'll say your mantle, is your mantle to, the first one is teach children, right? So if you have a mantle, a passion, a God-given desire that you feel is in you, and if you don't have any mantle, hey, just enjoy the show. But if this is you, I want you to clap, because it tells me there's someone in the room, okay, that is here. I won't just skip over that point. Plus, it tells other people in the room and online too, they can hear you clapping, that there's people responding to it. So let's all try clapping now, so I know everyone can clap. Brilliant, great. And please put a clap emoji in the chat feed if you can. So, I'm going to read them out. Are you ready? Okay. Not yet. I haven't read them out yet. Okay, you ready? Is your mantle to teach children? Love teachers. Then I declare today that your legacy will not just be education, but inspiration, helping kids find their God-given purpose. Is your mantle to be a tradesman, engineer, or builder? Anybody? Okay, everybody look round because no one can get one at the minute, so just get their number after. No. Then I declare today that your legacy will not just be bricks and mortar, steel and metal, but one of enhancing people's quality of life. Not just building someone's house, but building someone's home. Is your mantle to be in business? Anybody in business today? Clap your hands. Then I declare today that your legacy will be one that enriches the world around you, giving those who have no social mobility an opportunity of a lifetime. Is your mantle to raise children, parent, foster, or volunteer, or grandparent, to raise children? Then I declare today that your legacy will be one where you role model what it means to live family on mission and produce God-centered mentalities in the next generation. Is your mantle to create art, music, or in the media industry? Anybody in here? Then I declare today that your legacy will cause a renaissance within people every time they see your work, becoming potent with prophetic insight. Is your mantle to bring justice for those who were either abused or used? Anybody in here? Thank you for your service. Then I declare today that your legacy will be one where trauma can become a trigger for true healing and hope, that a crown of beauty will rise from a dirty pile of ashes. Is your mantle to fight racial inequality and equity? Anybody in here? Then I declare today that your legacy will be to speak truth to power and create avenues of opportunity, divine fortuity, regardless of color, origin, or gender. Is your mantle to work in healthcare, nurses, doctors, midwives, anybody? Then I declare today that your legacy will be where your kindness and compassion will show people a greater love that first starts in our Heavenly Father. Is your mantle to work within government, local, regional, or national? I didn't think there'd be a lot of claps then, but I'm going to do it anyway. Then I declare today that your legacy will be one where the power of love becomes the driver instead of a love of power, and that God's agenda is represented at the heart of future legislation. Is there anybody hearing my voice today that has a mantle to be part of the greatest flipping church in the Northwest? Then I declare that a legacy of today's community church will be one of a postcode of hope, creating a new Eden at the heart of Wigan, planting churches, creating kingdom expressions, digging new rivers in the desert lands, making a way in the wilderness, seeing the captives set free so the lost can find a home and the desperate can find hope again. That's the legacy I want to leave. I'm not living at the butt end of life, leaving nothing behind. I want to live a life that leaves a legacy that blesses and touches future generations. And I want to encourage you by saying this, that I was reading this story because I didn't really know much about him and his life and all that kind of. I remember reading it and I was in a real moment of worry, thinking, how that heaven can I walk in, Dave, our founding leader's shoes, and Ray, his dad, and the amazing people before. How do I do that, And I was having those moments, even a bit of a wobble, And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can. And I read this story, and I shared this with the lead team in our first meeting together. And I felt, as I was reading this, studying for this series, God spoke to me. And I read about God still working past Elisha's death. And God spoke to me and he said, Ben, your work as TCC will bring people back to life long after you're gone. And he encouraged me and he said, and I don't normally pull the God card, but it was genuinely him. And the churches that we'll plant in the future together, the kingdom expressions, social, economic things that we want to do, the books that are going to be written by people who may be sat here today, our future leaders in this church, that you as one of the first fruits, as a person this year, that it's gonna outlast us all. So look, TCC is not a perfect church. We're not, but it's a good investment. Parents, plant your kids in our house. It's good. It's a good place for them to grow up. Grandparents, encourage your children and your children's children to be part of this. If you're young in here, make this an orbit of your lifestyle. Get good mates here. If you're an adult, find friends that become like family to you. It's a good investment, because what God's doing here is going to live on long past we're done. Amen. Why don't we stand to our feet, because I'm going to bring this to a close, which means I've got 50 more minutes. The third point is this, and it's the title of the talk today. So there's a life that lives on past here. There's a legacy we leave behind. And finally, my last point is this, that a man can bring you back to life. A man brought me back to life. One worry I had when we did the, forgive me if you weren't here, but last week we picked up mantles, like little pieces of cloth to represent what we feel God was asking us to do. And a concern I had was the whole comparison thing. Because someone's small is big, and someone's big is small. And I didn't want comparison to kind of be the thief of joy, because every mantle is different. But I just think your legacy becomes exponential when it's linked to God's purpose for your life. Imagine being there when this happened. Imagine just being in that when suddenly you ran home after throwing your relative's body in a tomb because you were scared, and suddenly that relative returns. Just put yourself in those shoes just for a minute. What's going on? I don't know. Where am I? I don't know. The last thing I remember is touching that plug socket with a wet hand, and how did I get here? What happened? I don't know. I kind of just woke up in a cave with screaming happening. How did that? I don't know. But that's Elisha's tomb. That's where they buried that prophet. And I think when I bumped him, I think when you threw him on me, where there's a blame, there's a claim. When you threw him on me, I came back to life. I think that guy just brought me back. Just imagine that, right? That's my prayer for you. That's and this is the last talk I'm going to do next week. We've got loads of special guests sharing about a mark by the mantle for them. And this is my parting thought and gift to you, that's my prayer for you. That what you leave behind brings people back to life. The mantle, the purpose that God has asked you to do. And he will do it if you partner with God. I want to be someone where the presence of God was so great in my life here that as I live on into the next life, the mere mention of what we did here stirs people back to life with the presence of God. Okay, finally, I've said to you in this series that Elisha is a lot like Jesus, even though they never met. It was many hundreds of years between them, and I've kind of worked hard to show you how Old Testament meets New Testament, tried to show you the thread of grace and narrative that runs through all the 66 books. But this story in particular, you can't get away from how familiar this story is in the life of Jesus. Because if you don't know, Jesus is the Son of God, sent here, raised here, spotless, perfect life. So all the brokenness, the fear that I've talked to you before, all the wrongdoing that we do every day, that he pays the price for that. So the life that we live on past here is one of everlasting hope. He died on a cross and he came back to life. And I want to read you a passage from Luke 24. And I won't give you time to turn there, but just make a note, because it's great to note it in your Bible. Just Luke chapter 24 next to this Bible passage. This is what, and it'll be on screen so you can see it, okay? So Luke chapter 24, verse 1. On the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took the spices they prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. Elisha was in a tomb. Jesus in a tomb. But when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. And while they were wondering about this, has his body been stolen? Has it been mutilated because people didn't like him? As they were wondering about this, suddenly 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood behind them. Verse 5, in their fright, the women bowed down their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Elisha died and stayed dead. Jesus died and came back. Why did he come back? Well, he came back for a reason. He came back for you. That's right, you. Normal, bog standard person just like me. Person who's gone through the mud in their life. Someone who's got a vision and a hope for the future. Jesus came back for you. The truth is, my friend, when you touch Jesus, when you believe his identity and connect with him, that man can bring you back to life. Elisha's not around anymore and his bones are long gone. Jesus is still alive. He has risen, and so have you. They asked the question, why are you looking for the living among the dead? Listen, booze won't bring you back to life. It's not going to bring you back to life. Sex isn't going to bring you back to life. Fame isn't going to bring you back to life. Money is not going to bring you back to life. Jesus is. A man can bring you back to life. A man brought me back to life a long, long time ago, 26 years ago now. And he's been bringing me back to life ever since. I know I've gone over time, and I am done. If you're in the room and you're like, Ben, I want to be brought back to life. I want to believe in Jesus. Everything that I've heard today has confirmed that he is God, and I want that new life. So if that's you, I'm going to pray for you. Is that all right? I'm going to pray for you. Media guys, do we have the prayer on the screen? Is that okay? As they get that set up, if you're in here and you're like, Ben, I want to connect, I want to say yes to Jesus, then in a minute we're all going to read this prayer together and we're going to repeat every line. The reason we do that together is so that you don't feel alone, because most of these people have done it before anyway. And that also it encourages you, it shows you, hey, this is real, this is really happening. So if you're saying yes to Jesus for the first time, or if you're recommitting your life to him after walking away for some time, then read this after me. Okay, I'm going to say, dear Jesus, you say, dear Jesus. Get it on screen, guys, okay? Let's read it together, hey, because that'll be easier. Let's read it together, okay? 3, 2, 1. Dear Jesus, I believe you're the Son of God. Thank you for forgiving me. I'm sorry. I'm yours now. I'm free now. Amen. In a moment of absolute solidarity, we are going to praise you and celebrate you, and the room's going to erupt to life, because these people were one of those people that were thrown into the tomb, left for dead, gone. and Jesus brought them back to life, and Jesus has brought you to life. He has forgiven your brokenness and your sin. He has setting you free right now from the things that are holding you back in your life. And you won't believe the 10-fold, 100-fold future that God has for you in the name of Jesus. So before everybody goes crazy, because we're all waiting, we're going to sing in a minute, the team, the welcome team, want to give you a Bible and something free to say, hey, thanks, well done, encourage you. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to lift your hand, and you can do that in the chat feed too. If you lift your hand online, one of our team will say, hey, let's pray together. Let's go offline and have a chat, see how you are. And if you're in here, someone's going to walk over and put a Bible in your hand. So if you could raise your hand in 3, hey, you've not got a spirit of fear anymore. This is a new life for you. 2, you can raise your hand knowing that the old has gone and the new has come. 1, Jesus just brought you back to life. Come on, lift your hand if you're responding. Come on, today's Smith Church. Let's raise these people nice and high, and let's sing together. Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Lift your name, Jesus. Because you're worthy, God. You're so worthy, God. You give life. You are love. You bring light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Great. Sing it again. You give life, you are Lord, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great. We say you're a great God. You're a great God. So our response is to give you glory. Yeah. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry these. Come on, let's sing it out. Oh, great. Great are you, Lord. Great, yeah. Oh, great are you, Lord. Yeah. Oh, great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. And you crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Come on. Now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. To let all of your strivings, this is my victory. You are my champion. Giants fall where you stand undefeated. Every battle you won. I am who you say I am. And you crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, oh. When I lift my voice and shout, every wall it comes crashing down. I have the authority. Who gave you that authority? Jesus has given me. And when I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority. Oh, Jesus has given me. When I open my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority. Jesus is giving me. Jesus has given me. And when I open up my mouth, you are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Yeah, yeah. And we lift your name, God. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Come on, sing it out like you really mean it. Sing all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout. We will shout it out. And our hearts will cry. Great all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Cause it's your praise, it's your praise in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your praise in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you, Lord. It's your praise in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your praise in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you,
That song says, all the earth will shout your praise. My heart will cry, these bones will sing. Because when we are brought back to life, when he touches our bones, they praise the Lord. When you experience transformation like you only experience when you come to God, every part of your being praises him. And I encourage you this morning, if you made that decision for the first time, so fantastic. And maybe you're in here and you're thinking, right, I'm going to take this more seriously now. I'm going to listen to what Ben brought, and I'm ready to think more long-term. You know, actually, I think quite a lot of people think long-term. I'm not really a long-term thinker kind of girl, I'm going to be honest. When people tell me what they've planned in 5 years, I'm like, oh, you've thought that far ahead. You know, I wish I was a bit more long-term. But you know, there's one thing that I know is long-term in my life, and that is that I will follow where God leads me, and I'll do as he asks. And, you know, sometimes that's a good start, even if you don't know the rest. Yeah, it's been a great gathering. Can we just give it up for Ben? That was fantastic. And, you know, the whole series has been months, I know, of preparation and prayer and listening to God. So thank you for bringing that to us. Also, I'm saying that very publicly, and I don't say that kind of thing to him in private, so he's probably like, what's going on? Yeah, it's been great to have you with us this morning. Please don't forget the things I told you. Lift on Tuesday is going to be fantastic. Make sure you join us. Groups, join them. They're going to be great. One thing I do want to tell you about that you haven't heard about yet, so if you're trying to run off, you're going to miss out, is we have a community grocery. If you don't know that, we do. It's amazing. It is supplying food for people in Wigan that need it the most. And next week, we are going to give you the opportunity to go round the grocery after the gathering, have a look, find out about what they do, have a look in, because you might not have even been in, and for you to be able to get involved maybe. So if you usually go straight off after the gathering and you want to do that, just so that you know to give that extra space. But have a fantastic week. And yeah, thanks for coming. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic week ahead. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Calling out my friends asking what's the move. Feeling a little different, I'm on something new.